President Bell, what is the direction of higher education in the 80s?
Higher education in the 80s will face a very different kind of picture if we are to follow the plan that is being established for us now through the state, through the commission, through the state legislature. Because of the real turn back in employment opportunities, heavy industrial being offset the way it is, we're being asked to address in as much as possible those curricula that would lead to the establishment of new opportunities in Indiana, and to do anything we can to try to increase the attraction of new industry, of high technology to the state, and consequently jobs of a kind that we have not been heavily engaged in before. Now, that doesn't mean we just turn the higher education programs completely around or start anew. It does mean that the emphasis will be given more heavily in those areas where technology says the opportunities of the future lie.
Do you see universities gaining strength in the 80s?
It's going to be difficult because, as of right now anyway, the revenues are very limited. And you don't move into new positions, new technologies, new equipment without a considerable amount of financing. That will be the drawback. The emphasis on these will have to come in line with and in tune with what we can finance as we attempt to begin the curricula.
And speaking of financing, this is what's on every student and family's mind.
Indeed.
How do they pay for a college education? And recently, the Board of Trustees at Ball State University announced an increase, as has every state university. And ours was less than some, but nevertheless an increase. How do students and family meet this?
This is a problem that we must all be very concerned about, and yet there are certain understandings that need to accompany it. Back in 1975, 76, 77, the legislature took the attitude that the state would attempt to meet the increased costs of higher education and that we should not advance fees. And so we went for a 3-year period without. More recently, when inflation has been running much more rampant, the philosophy has changed, and the attitude has been, well, yes, we will help to meet that increase, but we feel at the same time that families should carry a share of it too. That is based upon the idea that they are having higher wages, higher salaries as inflation goes up, therefore are able to pay somewhat more, though all of us know that the advance in salaries means advance in tax and advance in other things. But it's hard to argue with the philosophy. This year, we advanced fees by 14%. Now, if I look back over a 10-year period, we find that our fees have increased since 1974, and including the increase for next year, by 102%, going from $630 a year to next year at $1,275. During that same period, the Consumer Price Index has advanced by 98.2%. So our fees are just slightly more than the Consumer Price Index. When we look at our room and board fees, however, we find that they have advanced by only 79% over that same period. So from the total standpoint, and as measured by the Consumer Price Index, the total cost of the year for fees and room and board is just slightly less than 10 years ago.
So you have to look at the whole picture.
Right.
You expressed concern about the possibility of the middle-income student being hurt as compared to the higher and the lower-income student.
I am indeed. This past year, the holes were removed primarily from student loans, and we had people who borrowed money for their sons and daughters in school who really had no need for loan. I cannot support that kind of thing because I know of no reason why you and I should pay the interest on somebody's loan who didn't really need it in the beginning. As we look at the proposals for reducing that loan money, then I become concerned lest it get down to the point that, well, the wealthy will not be able to get it, but will the middle income group? The poor apparently are still fairly well cared for, although even theirs is reducing. Now, it's my contention that this middle income group is really a major backbone of the economy. They're the people who still have considerable ambition. They want to get ahead. They become those who strive and succeed and do. And of course, we have a lot of them at Ball State. Our students do not come from wealthy families. They're the middle income groups, and I don't want to see them cut off from accessibility to college for whatever reason. Now, there are different ways of doing it, and we have what I think is a good combination. We have a large number of scholarships. We have gift money. We have loan money, and we employ a lot of students. For example, during this past 10-year period, each year we have had payrolls for student employment of from $4.5 to $5 million each year. I like for people to have the opportunity to earn as they learn and offset some of their expense that way. I'm particularly appreciative of scholarships because many students who get involved in loans build up more obligation than they realize. And some are finding at the time they graduate that they have debts that are, well, very difficult to meet during those early years at low earning rates, comparatively speaking, with interest rates that are rather high. I would like to keep the best balance we can as among the matter of loan money, employment opportunities being very important, but gift and scholarship money at the same time so that we can package for people in the most economical way possible.
Do you see enough money to meet the needs of the students?
It's very difficult to say. We thought at one point 2 months ago that we were going to face considerable problems by September of '82. The federal budget is still on a continuing basis, and the cuts have not been made. We think we will not be in as bad a condition come September of '82 as we had anticipated, but the proposal for '83 has not yet changed, so we only have to wait and see. It is '83 that looms largest at the present time.
What help can we expect from the Indiana legislature?
The Indiana legislature thinks well of higher education. I've been pleased with my conversations with leadership there and as well as with our various senators and representatives. The truth is, however, that revenues in the state treasury are rapidly depleting. Unless the economy can turn around and we find ourselves with greater numbers of dollars available, there will be a limitation as to how much will be available for them to allocate to us.
In regards to growth and strength, you mentioned expansion and attracting new technologies, new business. How can Ball State contribute?
Well, there are, of course, many ways that all of the institutions of higher education contribute, and it depends largely upon the kind of institution and what they've been doing in the past. Purdue, I suppose, is in the strongest position because of their School of Technology, because engineering is so much in demand. All of us are involved with and will continue to be heavily involved with computer science. We need much greater emphasis there, and we plan to give it there. The health fields are developing rather rapidly, and we think we have an excellent base in that area. As we look on down, we know that mathematics is going to play an important part here. I'm especially glad that we have a new computer science, mathematics, and English building on the drawing boards to start construction this summer. We need that space. We need those facilities. We think those are growth areas of considerable importance. Our sciences, likewise, are much in demand. are doing nicely. Geology, for example. Never have geologists had as great an opportunity as they have now. Environmentalists, natural sciences, chemistry, physics, biology are all very viable and going concerns. Undoubtedly, there will be new fields spring forth. Our Industrial Education and Technology Department has just made a proposal before a Senate committee in Washington, D.C., in which they want to show how they can be of assistance in retraining some people, as well as establish some new curricula that will aid in preparing people for the opportunities that they see developing. It's going to be this kind of a period, and the more we can identify with the developments that are reality and that are realistic, the more viable we're going to be with the students who come to us. And that, we think, is a necessity.
Could you sum up from the student level the advantages of attending Ball State? What are its strengths, and why should they attend Ball State?
Well, I always like to place heaviest emphasis upon good academic programs. I think we cannot afford any academic program that is not of high quality. We employ regular faculty to do much of our instruction and even on a greater basis than do many of the other institutions. We have a good campus environment. We have good instructional programs, good instructional equipment in many areas. Some we need to improve upon, but that is true every place, and it's true because of inflation and the problem of keeping up to date. We have a good living environment. Our residence hall program is, I think, the best buy around. Some of our parents tell us, well, I can hardly afford to room and board them at home for that amount. Here, you see, we are setting our rates on the basis of bonding costs to pay off those buildings, but bonding costs that are less than they are today. And that's the only reason we've been able to hold those costs down. But we think we have a good faculty, a good staff, a good environment in which this can take place. We have a good placement system, which becomes increasingly important as people move greater distances and need opportunities that they would not ordinarily know about. All of these stack up to me to prove that this is indeed a reasonable place according to cost, a good opportunity according to staff and facilities, and we can provide the type of higher education that makes people be happy they came here.